Hey, welcome back. We're Fitz and Heather, and today we're talking about, it's the second part of the work-rest boundaries. If you missed part one, go back and watch it. It's really kind of going through, why do people not work? It's more emotional than you would think. But today we're going to talk about accurately defining rest.
Yes, we are, which it might, in our industry, it's all about how hard you work to produce the results.
Yeah.
So why would we talk about rest? Well, we talk about rest because if you don't accurately define rest, then you can't accurately work. And you've got to have healthy boundaries in between work and rest. And we're on a mission right now in our business and even in our own personal lives to help people be healthy, because we believe that healthy things grow.
Dang right.
And so it's why that we want to take this time to talk about and accurately define for you what exactly is rest. How do you work hard? How do you hustle, make something happen? You know, getting a small business off the ground is no easy feat. It's why most people fail.
Right.
So you better believe you're going to work harder and do more than you've ever done while you're trying to get your small business off the ground. However, at the same time, you have to learn how to rest. And today we want to talk about how to help you really talk about rest effectively, how to actually do rest effectively. And so first we got to say, hey, I need to help you escape the trap of hustle porn culture. And to help you understand what hustle porn culture is. Hustle porn culture is basically the perception, making the perception of productivity more important than actual productivity. So, and this is really what goes on in our culture.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes on in everything, into work world, to my kids and their sports world. You know, it's this concept of I beat you because I outwork you, period. And while that is absolutely a necessary truth, I mean, yesterday trying to explain to one of my sweet children about why his grades are not improving, I had to simply say, look, you cannot want and desire a better grade and put in the same effort. It doesn't work that way. You have to increase your effort if you want your grade to go up.
Yep.
That is a basic principle of life. No doubt about it. However, the reality is we're spending so much time looking like we're busy, giving off the perception that we're busy, that we're not actually looking at the results and driving the productivity. And so we've got to get out of that. And I believe personally that part of that is our ability to accept that rest and work are partners. And you cannot achieve one without achieving the other.
Yeah, and you got to schedule them. I mean, it's what you got to do. I mean, a lot of people understand scheduling their work. Like, I've got appointments, and so I've got to be there at 8, I got to be there at 10, I got appointments, and I got to schedule that. I got to schedule my dials. I got to schedule when I'm talking to agents and when I'm training. I got to schedule all this stuff. Sadly, some people don't understand scheduling work either, but most will understand that. The foreign concept, I feel like, to most people and to me, was scheduling rest. I still struggle with it. I really do. I feel like deep rooted inside of me is this performance issue. Like, I think it's deep rooted from even my childhood. I feel like I got to perform in order to feel love and to receive love. I've got to go perform. Well, I remember hearing in my 20s, I remember hearing the phrase, it's better to better to wear out than rust out. And I thought, oh yeah, it's better to wear out than rust out. Because if you're rusting out, it means you're sitting still and not doing anything and the weather is destroying you. But if you're wearing out, it means you were active and doing something. And so I started really trying to hustle and trying to work, trying to prove my worth to others. And I started realizing that my body was starting to break down. My relationships were starting to break down. I wasn't doing good. And I mean, it's been several years ago now that this epiphany sort of happened for me, but I realized I've got to schedule rest. And, you know, at that point, I think soon after that, I scheduled a sabbatical. It was 1 week. I didn't go anywhere. It was during school, so the kids weren't around. And we, like, every day would go have breakfast and we would talk and plan and think. And then I had some time alone to myself. I could read. I could go for a walk. And it was important. And I find now I still have to put it in my schedule. I was looking ahead in our schedule right now as this is being filmed on the horizon because we're a family with kids. Spring break is coming up. And so I sent you a text last night. Hey, spring break's coming up. Have we looked at this and this and this? She's always on top of everything. But it was in my mind. The reason I brought it up was I needed to schedule my rest. I got rest coming up. Now, family vacations aren't necessarily rest the way we define it, but you got to take those blocks off. One of the things I do is it's the second and fourth Thursday of the month. The days don't matter. I have a planning day. And that's a day when I can sit and, maybe what I need to do that day is take a nap. Maybe I need to go take a walk. Maybe I need to read a couple of chapters in a book. Or maybe it's a time for me to kind of catch up on some things. But it takes me out of the rat race of the day-to-day scheduled work and puts me in a place where I can more gear down a bit and kind of slow down. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think our formula for scheduling it would be to have one day a week that you schedule in rest. And that if you're going to push in our business, we believe in 90-day blitzes. So at the end of that 90 days, you also schedule a 2 to 3 day kind of like he's saying, a respite or what we might call a sabbatical, or where you go and you rest, you think, you plan, you strategize, but you separate yourself from the normal everyday distractions of your life. So I think even that, yes, your planning days, scheduling planning days are so important. It's that time to white sheet what's going on. It's the time you can't be effective without the planning and without the resting. So that's how we would recommend if you're going to schedule in the rest. That's what it would look like.
We fortunately very early on in building our business, we somebody told us this, and I don't know how we picked up on it, but we would work hard for 90 days. And then we would take like a 3 or 4 day weekend in San Antonio. Right. And it wasn't like we were living it up, La Vida Loca. We would, get a car on Hotwire so we wouldn't wear out our one car. And we'd get a Hotwire hotel right on the Riverwalk in San Antonio. If you hadn't been there, it's a great place to go. And we'd, maybe have a margarita or two and watch drunk people fall in the river, which again, if you hadn't been to San Antonio, that is a pastime down there. And we came back and we had scheduled it. We came back and felt rested, which maybe is our next point.
Yeah. So the question is, you got to schedule it. So then what do you do when you rest? How do you know that you rested effectively? Well, we can't 100% tell you, because that's going to be unique to you, how to rest or what to do when you rest. But we can tell you that when you've rested effectively, you should feel refueled and re-inspired.
Yes.
I've gone through seasons in my life, like he said, where we've done this wrong. And so I've had times and seasons where I would rest, but I wouldn't feel refueled or re-inspired. And I'll tell you, we can't go into the depth of that right now. But if that is you, that is something that I really want to encourage you is not normal. And so you need to stop and address what is going on. Why is it that when I'm resting, I don't feel refueled or re-inspired? Some of it may be simply how you are resting. So this is one of those points of like, you can't just Netflix binge all day and think you're going to feel better.
Right.
This doesn't mean that we are saying you can never watch Netflix or never watch TV. And most of that is about escaping your brain, giving your brain that escape. There's nothing really wrong with that in the right appropriate amount of doses. But the reality is that typically if you've sat on a couch all day watching Netflix, you feel worse instead of better at the end of that day. So you need to take kind of a assessment of how do I feel after I rest, and is it effective? I think that it's very important, like we're saying, that you shut down the voices. You don't take texts. You're not checking your Slacks. You're not checking your WhatsApp. You're not checking your GroupMe's, because Lord knows we have 1,000 ways for people to contact us now. So to actually disconnect from that is far more of a challenge than people recognize, talk about, admit. And I mean, like, I'm getting like messages and I feel guilty if I don't reply quickly.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn to shut that down. And if I'm not in his headspace to be able to reply, then I don't. And I wait till I am. And I'm not going to over and over apologize for that, because I want to be able to give you my best.
Yeah.
And so that is the point with rest and shutting down the voices so that we can give our best when we are working.
Yeah, I just had an agent the other day send a message and say, "Hey, I got a question about yada yada yada." And I said, "Well, have you checked with so and so on our staff?" And they said, "Yeah." I sent a message. Well, how long ago? An hour ago. Well, that's 11 o'clock at night. Like I'm up late, responding to messages. I said, and I replied back. I said, "That's 11 o'clock." I encourage my staff to work their guts out, but I do encourage them to take a break. And 11 o'clock at night for that particular staff member, they've been asleep for 3 hours. I'm just saying, give it a break. And listen, that's maybe you rest during different times than somebody else does, but you also give people that space to do that. And it's serious to unplug, shut the phone off, set it down, walk away. I think rest is also. Part of resting is truly trusting that something bigger is in charge than you. Like there's something bigger. And I recently had a conversation with somebody about, they were asking me about my own faith, and my faith is very real. And my comment back to him was, my faith is very real to me. My religious beliefs are very real to me. I don't hide from them, but I'm also not going to hide behind them. Right, so I'm saying whatever you believe, I'm just going to let you do you, boo boo. You be free in that. But I don't understand people who don't get that something bigger is at play. Like there's gravity, right? That's bigger than you. Gravity is bigger than you, and I think that truly resting, is when you can come to a place where you realize, good, bad, or indifferent, one day you're going to die, and the world will continue to rotate. It's not going to stop because you stopped. The world keeps going, and that whatever religion or higher power you believe in, you have to believe in that, at least, that it's going to keep on going. And working too hard and striving too much, it's just it can all seem sort of meaningless when you're at the end of the life. Hey, I spent that. I'm so glad I spent 40 extra hours a week at work rather than with my family. Said nobody ever on their deathbed. Right. Something bigger is at play.
Yeah. I mean, I think like you're saying, it's you're resting correctly when you're able to do it. You're able to rest because you recognize, I'm not superhuman. I'm replaceable. And it's not fair to anyone to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Right.
That is the most unhealthy emotional and mental state that you can be in if everything rests on your shoulders all the time. So accurate rest from a mental health place, also, if you're going to define it, it involves this mental belief that everything doesn't depend on me. So much so that I can put it all down for a set period of time, and then I can pick it back up and go again. And we just feel that is so important to recognize that and to give you permission to put it all down.
Yep.
And then you can pick it back up tomorrow, and then run harder because you're rested, you're stronger, you're refueled, you're re-inspired, you're re-energized. That is the point of rest. But let us remind you, we're talking about resting effectively so that your productivity will increase.
Yeah.
Because rest is just simply a partner of work. It is just simply part of working well. It is not so that you can sit around and go, well, they told me to rest today, and so I'm going to rest every single day. It's about scheduling your rest so that when you work, it's the vacation mode mentality. How we all get so much more done knowing that tomorrow we're going to rest. We want you to live every week of your life in a vacation mode, knowing that you're going to rest effectively one day a week. So rest well so that your productivity can increase.
And the final point I make there is I remember in my 20s hearing a speaker from stage say, discipline yourself or someone else will.
That's right.
And that means, in small business ownership, either you're going to discipline yourself to grow the business, or you're going to have to start answering to some other boss again, right? Or in health, if you're not disciplining yourself and your health, eventually there's going to be a doctor with medication and surgeries that are going to discipline you in your health. If you're not disciplining yourself in your work and your rest, if you're resting too much, you're going to go broke. And if you're working too much, you're going to wear out.
That's right.
You don't have to choose rust or wearing out. You can have a perfectly well-oiled machine that runs as it's supposed to until it stops. Right?
That's right.
Next time, we're going to talk about some practical tips on work-rest boundaries. Hope this has helped. And hey, now that you know,
You know.